Shalom. Good morning. Shalom. So here we are. Part 6. That's kind of funny. Here we are 2 hours into his part 1. But this is an important one. This is so important. And notice here, I have to buck the system. I can't stand that YouTube removed the dislike counter. And there's some videos this is really crucial on. Just add an extension to Firefox and stop using Google Chrome. All right.
Discredit Messiah as being the central figure of Isaiah 53 we just read. They'll say that.
You can also use Brave. I like that one too.
Especially some of the preceding chapters and verses leading up to 53 talks many times about Israel being the suffering servant. I want to read Isaiah 49, 5 through 6. And it's
we went a little ahead. Let's go back. So he has talks about Isaiah 53 first. We got to do that first. And I want to hear Adam go through all of it, Let's keep going back. It's broken. Cool.
that Messiah has many names or many terms.
Messiah has many names and many terms. So he's going into Isaiah 53, and this is a huge stronghold. Isaiah 53 was the last stronghold for me to fall. And you know how it fell? I was studying the Tanakh. And while reading Jeremiah, I saw something very interesting. The words which came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, Hear the words of this covenant, and you shall speak to the men of Yehuda and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say to them, Thus says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, Cursed is the man who does not hear the words of this covenant, which I commanded your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace. Listen to my voice and do according to all which I command you. So you shall be my people, and I will be your Elohim, in order to establish the oath which I swore to your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey. As to this, it is this day. You see, it's all about the land. It's about the people. This is why Isaiah 53 is not about the first century and about the whole world and about a spiritual thing done with human sacrifice. And that's crucial. That's crucial to understand. Then I answered and said, Amen, O Yahweh. And Yahweh said, Call out all these words in the cities of Yehuda, in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, Hear the words of this covenant, so that you will do them. For I solemnly warned your fathers in that day that I brought them up from the land of Egypt, even to this day, rising up early and warning, saying, Listen to my voice. Yet they did not listen or incline their ear, but walked each one in the stubbornness of evil heart. Therefore I brought on them all the words of this covenant, which I commanded them to do, but they did not. Then Yahweh said to me, A conspiracy has been found among the men of Yehuda and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They have turned back to their iniquities of their ancestors who refused to hear my words, and they have walked after other Elohim to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Yehuda have broken my covenant which I cut with their fathers. Therefore thus says Jehovah, Behold, I am bringing calamity on them, which they may not be able to get out of, and they will cry to me, yet I will not listen to them. Then the cities of Yehuda, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, will go and cry to the idols, the gods, to whom they burn incense, but they will surely not save them in the time of their calamity. For your gods are the number of your cities, O Yehuda, and the number of the streets of Jerusalem are the altars you have set up to do shameful things, altars to burn incense to the Lord. And that's what Baal means. But for you, do not pray for this people, nor lift up a cry of lamentation or prayer for them, for I will not listen when they call to me because of their calamity. What possession has my beloved in my house, when she has done many schemes of wickedness? Can the flesh, which is set apart as holy, take away from your calamity, so that you can exult? Yahweh called your name, a green olive tree, a beautiful in fruit and form. With the noise of a great tumult, he has kindled fire on it, and its foliage has an evil demise. Yahweh of hosts has planted you, has spoken forth evil against you, because of the evil of the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda, which have done to provoke me to anger by burning incense to their Lord. Isn't that interesting? Remember I told you, everything he's saying is built on Rome. Protestantism is only a 500-year-old religion. And Luther never intended to create a new religion. He was just trying to reform Rome. What he believes in, this new Messianic traditions, which hangs on to all of Rome's canon and all of their traditions, is only about 40 years old. It's a very new cult. And there was a video I ran across of a Protestant criticizing the Hebrew roots movement. And, he's justified in that. The traditions show you that, 110 AD, Ignatius of Antioch says that these Judaizers have fallen from their Christ, their Messiah. Let's get back into Jeremiah now. Moreover, Yahweh made it known to me and I knew it, and then you showed me their deeds. But I was like a gentle lamb led to the slaughter, and I did not know that they had devised thoughts against me, saying, let us make the tree without its fruit a ruin, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name be remembered no more. And as soon as I heard this, like meditating on the word, hearing it, it just blew me away. Like, that's Isaiah 53. That's what Philip should have answered to the eunuch when he asked, who is this about? Why would Isaiah be writing about a generation of generations of generations of generations away from himself? It doesn't make any sense. But you, O Yahweh of hosts, who judges righteously, who tests the insides of the heart, let me see your vengeance on them, for to you I have revealed my case. Therefore, thus says Yahweh concerning the men of Anathoth, who will seek your life, saying, do not prophesy in the name of Yahweh, so that you will not die at our hand. Therefore, thus says Yahweh of hosts, behold, I am about to punish them. The choice men will die by the sword, and their sons and daughters will die by famine. And the remnant will not be left, for I will bring calamity on the men of Anathoth, the year of their punishment. So let's go back now to Isaiah 51. Listen to me, who you pursue righteousness. See, this is what we should be doing, not pursuing the idol, pursuing Zedekah, righteousness. And what is righteousness? What is righteousness? Deuteronomy 6:25. And it will be righteousness for us as we are careful to do all that they mitzvot before Yehovah our Elohim, just as he commanded us. This is one of the things that, it definitively shows Paul did not keep Torah. Like, listen to this. I do not set aside the false idol of Zeus, for if righteousness comes through the Torah, then the Messiah died needlessly. But what do we just read from Deuteronomy 6:25? That righteousness comes through Torah. I mean, you either choose to believe Paul that therefore the Messiah died needlessly, or you choose to believe Luke, who says what? Luke chapter 1, verse 5. In the days of Herod, king of Judea, there was a priest named Zechariah of the division of Abijah, and he had a wife from the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous. They were righteous without their Christ dying in the sight of Elohim, walking blamelessly in all the commandments and righteous requirements of Yehovah. Right there, totally destroying Paul. And Plutarch says the same thing of Gentiles. And opening his mouth, Peter said, I most truly comprehend now that Elohim is not one to show partiality, but in every nation the one who fears him and does righteousness is welcome to him. And what did he do? And this is why, a lot of these dispensationalists, they just cut Acts off at the knees and say it doesn't apply to me, even though it says this about the Goyim, the Gentile. Now there was a man at Caesarea named Cornelius, a centurion in what was called the Italian cohort, a devout man and one who feared Elohim with all his household and gave many alms to the people, to the poor. That's what giving alms is about, giving gifts of charity, and to pray to Elohim continually. About the 9th hour of the day, he clearly saw in a vision an angel of Elohim, and who had come in and said to him, Cornelius. And then his prayers are answered, because he was a righteous, God-fearing man. Look to the rock from which you were hewn. Okay, this is another one. Like, because of the New Testament, you don't know what the rock is. For I proclaim the name of Yehovah and ascribe greatness to our Elohim, the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways are just. Elohim of faithfulness and without injustice, righteous and upright is he. See, the rock they were hewn from is Yehovah. And to the quarry from which you were dug, look to Abraham your father, to Sarah who brought you forth through labor pains, when he was but one and I called him, then I blessed him and multiplied him. Indeed, Yehovah will comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places. See, this is all the same context. What are the waste places? Jeremiah 25. And the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Yehuda in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Yehuda, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, which Jeremiah the prophet spoke to all the people of Yehuda, to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Ammon, king of Yehuda, even to this day, these 23 years the word of Yehovah has come to me, and I have spoken to you, rising up early and speaking, but you have not listened. And Yehovah has sent to you all his slaves, the prophets, rising up early and sending, but you have not listened, nor inclined your ear to hear, saying, turn now everyone from his evil way and from the evil of your deeds. And this is so consistent. Like, it's not about what you think and believe, it's about your actions. Turn everyone from your evil way and from the evil of your deeds. Live on the ground which Yahweh has given to you and your fathers forever and ever. Do not walk after other Elohim to serve them and to worship them, and do not provoke me to anger with the work of your hands, and I will do no evil against you. How many Elohim are there? And how many Elohim are there? Let you have not listened to me, declares Jehovah, in order that I might provoke me to anger with the work of your hands to your own evil demise. And thus says Jehovah of hosts, because you have not listened to my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, declares Jehovah, and I will send to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land and against its inhabitants, against all these surrounding nations, and I will devote them to destruction and make them an object of horror and of hissing in an everlasting waste place. Well, absolutely. This is one of the fruits of good from the New Testament. This story that shows that the Pharisees refused to help their fellow man that was on the side of the road, but the Samaritan did stop and help him. And they hate that because they hate Samaritans. They think the Samaritans are liars, but in truth, I truly believe the Samaritans are the ones truthfully following the Torah. I don't know if I'll find the story that Sister Jessie shared. She found a story about how the Samaritans do the tzitzit, and I think it's just spot on. In her wilderness he will make like Eden, in her desert like the garden of Yehovah. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the sound of melody. Pay attention to me, O my people, and give ear to me, O my nation, for the Torah will go forth from me, not the Messiah, from Yehovah. And I will set my justice for a light of the peoples. My righteousness is near, my salvation has gone forth, and my arms will judge the peoples. And the coastlands will hope in me, and my they will wait expectantly. See, Jeremiah tells us that the waste places were because the whole land will be a waste place and an object of horror, and these nations will serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. Lift up your eyes to the sky, then look to the earth beneath, for the sky will vanish like smoke, and then the earth will wear out like a garment, but its inhabitants will die in a like manner. But my salvation will be forever. And, one of the things that the Hebrew rooters will do is say, well, salvation is Yeshua. Yes, that's why Yehoshua means Yah's salvation. Hoshea means the same thing, salvation from Yah. All of these men are glorifying Yah with their name. It doesn't mean they are Yah. It doesn't mean they are Yah's salvation. And it's just glorifying Yah's salvation. And there's also why, like Yehuda of Galilee, who was a zealot, was also called Yeshua, because people believed he was the arm of Yah's salvation. And then he died and the movement scattered. Listen to me, you who know righteousness, a people in whose heart is my Torah. Do not fear the reproach of man, nor be dismayed at their revilings. For the moth will eat them like a garment, and the grub will eat them like a wool. But my righteousness will be forever, and my salvation to all generations. Awake, awake, put on the strength, O arm of Yehovah. Awake as in the days of old, the generation of long ago. Was it not you who chopped Rahab in pieces, who pierced the dragon? Was it not you who dried up the sea, the waters of the great deep? Who made the depths of the sea a pathway for the redeemed to cross over? So the ransom of Yahweh will return. So this is all about the land. Go back and read Deuteronomy 30. What does he promise? When you return to Yahweh, he will return you to the land. Come with a joyful shout to Zion, and everlasting gladness will be on their heads. They will obtain joy and gladness, and a sorrow and sighing will flee away. I, even I, am he who comforts you. Who are you that you are afraid of man who dies, and of a son of man who is made like grass? That you have forgotten Yahweh your Maker, who stretched out the heavens, and laid the foundations of the earth. That you tremble in dread continually all day long, because of the wrath of the one who brings distress, as he makes ready to bring ruin. But where is the wrath of the one who brings distress? The one in chains will soon be set free and will not die in the pit, nor will his bread be lacking. For I am Yahweh. This verse actually points us to Jeremiah as well. And it tells you right there that he will not die. And I heard, one Christian or Messianic, I don't know which path he was on, he told me that Jonah is a shadow because Jonah did die. The text is always very clear. If Jonah died, the text would tell you that. The problem with saying he died is all the witnesses that tell you, including Isaiah, that, the dead do not praise Yahweh. They can't speak. They have no voice in Sheol. And you have Jonah praying in the belly of the whale, and the whale protected him from death and from Sheol, but was showing him Yah's punishment, that he was like the dead. For I am Yahweh your Elohim, who stirs up the sea, and its waves roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. And also, the sign of Jonah is not death and resurrection. The sign of Jonah is mercy. See, the Ninevites were a wicked people that were not even the chosen people. They were Gentiles and very wicked ones. And Jonah goes there reluctantly, tells them that in 40 days, Yahweh is going to destroy the city. They repent, they change their ways, and Jonah 3:10 tells us, because of their works, Yahweh relented of his promise of destruction. And then you have Jonah sitting outside, chilling, waiting for Yahweh to rain down fire on Nineveh. And then Yahweh tells him the sign of mercy, because this is what you are to learn from Jonah, not human sacrifice. That mercy is greater than sacrifice. The Ninevites didn't do any sacrifice to appease Yahweh. Awaken yourself, arise, O Jerusalem. You have drunk from the hand of the cup of his wrath. The chalice of reeling you have drained it to the dregs. There is none to guide her among all the sons she has borne, nor is there one to take hold of her by the hand among all the sons she has reared. These two things have befallen you. Who will console you? The devastation and destruction and famine and sword, how shall I comfort you? Your sons have fainted, they lie helpless at the head of every street, like an antelope in a net, full of wrath of Yahweh, the rebuke of your Elohim. Therefore, listen to this, you afflicted, who are drunk but not with wine. Thus says Yahweh, your Lord, your God, who contend for his people. Behold, I have taken out of your hand the cup of reeling, the chalice of my wrath, and you will never drink it again. I will set it into the hand of those who cause you grief, who have said to you, lie down that we may walk over you. You have even set your back down like the ground and like the street of those who walk over it. Yeah, the ascension of Isaiah that's written in Greek and probably dates to after the first century. Awake, awake, clothe yourself in your strength, O Zion. You see this. This is this is Hebraic thinking, and this is important to understand. The city is treated like a person, and we'll get into why this is important to understand, because the city is also the suffering servant. Clothe yourself in your glorious garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for the uncircumcised and the unclean will no longer come into you. And this is so interesting regarding what happened in the first century. And with the Maccabees, tried to put the unclean and the uncircumcised into the city. They built a gymnasium in the city. And you see the same thing with Paul. Paul is accused of allowing the uncircumcised into the holiest part of the city. Shake yourself from the dust, rise up, O captive Jerusalem. Loose yourself from the chains around your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus says Jehovah, you were sold for nothing, and you will be redeemed without money. For thus says the Lord Jehovah, my people went down to the first into Egypt to sojourn there. Then the Assyrian oppressed them without cause. So now what do I have here, declares Jehovah, since my people have been taken away for nothing? You see the context here? Taken away. This was not about the first century. Jehovah declares, those who rule over them howl, and my name is continually blasphemed all day long. Therefore, my people shall know my name, and therefore in that day I am the one speaking, here I am. How lovely on the mountains are the feet of him who proclaims this good news, who announces peace and proclaims good news of good things, who announces salvation and says, Zion, your God reigns. And what is he talking about? Because this is important, because the New Testament tries to make this about the first century when Jerusalem was standing. But this was written to people who would see Jerusalem fall and then see the restoration. That's the good news, that the waste places would be restored, that the city, which they anthropomorphize as a living being, would be raised up. The voice of your watchmen, they lift up their voices, they shout joyfully together, for they will see with their own eyes when Jehovah returns to Zion. Break forth and shout joyfully together, you waste places of Jerusalem, for Jehovah has comforted his people, he has redeemed Jerusalem. Jehovah has bared his holy arm in the sight of all the nations, and that all the ends of the earth may see the salvation of our Elohim. Depart, depart, go out from there. Touch nothing unclean. Go out from the midst of her, purify yourselves, you who carry the vessels of Jehovah. But you will not go out in haste, nor will you go as those who flee, for Jehovah will go before you, and the Elohim of Israel will be your rear guard. Behold, my servant will prosper. His servant? See, this is what they're saying. This is about the Messiah. But if he meant the anointed one as the servant, he would say so. If he meant that the servant we're about to see is the anointed one, he would say so. Go back to Isaiah 44. The very last end of the chapter, and this is the problem with chapters and verses. You read a chapter at a time, and you miss so much. It is I who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd. Cyrus, in the context of Isaiah 53. He is the shepherd. Now, what I've heard Christians say is like, did Cyrus bear stripes? No, Cyrus is the Messiah. The Messiah did not the one that bared stripes. All of my good pleasure he will be complete. And saying of Jerusalem, she will be built. and at the temple your foundation will be laid. And you flip the chapter, which you probably do the next day, and you see, thus says Yahweh to Cyrus, his anointed. And you read it into this translation. You don't dig deeper. His Messiah. We don't see that about the servant in Isaiah 52. It doesn't say, behold my anointed servant, the Messiah. It doesn't say that. Behold, my servant will prosper, and he will be high and lifted up and greatly exalted. Just as many were appalled at you, my people, and so his appearance was marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. Thus he will sprinkle many nations. Kings will shut their mouth on account of him. For what had not been told they will see, and what they had not heard they will understand. Then we get to the meat and potatoes here. Isaiah 53. Who has believed our report? And to whom has the arm or the strength of Yahweh been revealed? For he will grow up before him like a tender shoot, and like the root out of a parched ground. You see, remember, this is about three things: the prophets, the nation, Israel, and the city. All three of these are being talked about here. And the context, as we've clearly shown, was about the age of Babylon bringing the city into exile. And that's also going to be important. And like a root of a parched ground, that he has no stately form or majesty, that he should be looked upon him, nor appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And like one whom men hid their face, he was despised, and we did not esteem him. Surely our griefs he himself bore, and this is important. The language is important. And yet our sorrows he carried. Yet we are himself esteemed him stricken, smitten of God and afflicted. But he was pierced through for our transgression. And this actually does not say that. And this is the lie. It doesn't say pierced. This is a Christian lie. This does not say pierced. He was crushed for our iniquities. The chastening of our peace fell upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. All of us like sheep have gone astray, and each of us have turned to his own way. But Yahweh has caused the iniquity of us all to fall on him. And what's that word? That he encounters it. So now let's go to Ezekiel chapter 4. And it even says in the Christian Bible, Ezekiel bears Israel's iniquity. But you don't read these things in the proper context. You read them with pretext. And this is what Adam and his friend are defending. Like, this is the pretext. Pluck it up that eye, and now I can see it. There's Waldo. Now we have to do a meme about that. Yeah, that's a good point, brother. You know, it, he was constantly like the most favorite preacher in all of the Gospels, especially John. Like, he's invited to a wedding and copies Dionysius and turns water into wine. He wasn't despised and rejected by anyone but the Pharisees. Even Rome didn't despise and reject him. Rome tried to get him to not be killed. So let's go back to Ezekiel 4. Then you set a siege against it. And then isn't this interesting? Get yourself a brick, set it before you, and inscribe on it the city, Jerusalem. And I remember I said, Jerusalem is anthropomorphized. And this is not the only time this happens. See, this phrase here, edge of the sword. See, they killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the edge of the sword, which means they pierced him, right? But this phrase is also talked about in regard to the city itself repeatedly. And they devoted to destruction everything in the city, both man and woman, young and old, and ox and sheep and donkey, with the edge of the sword. And now it happened when Israel had finished killing the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness where they pursued them, and all of them fell by the edge of the sword until they were completely destroyed. Then all of Israel turned back to the city, Ai, and struck it with the edge of the sword. See, the city is like a living person. And this is the language, the Hebraic language, that is so missed by the Christians. The city is pierced for their transgressions. See, look at 2 Chronicles 36. This is so clear. When Nebuchadnezzar comes, the Chaldeans destroyed Jerusalem, right? And Yehovah, the Elohim of their fathers, sent word to them again and again by the hand of his messengers, because he had compassion on his people and on his habitation. But they continually mocked the messengers of Elohim, despised his word, and scoffed at his prophets, until the wrath of Yehovah arose against his people, until there was no remedy. Therefore he brought up against the king of the Chaldeans, who killed their choice men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion on choice men, virgin, old, or infirm. He gave them all into his hand. And all the articles of the house of Elohim, great and small, and the treasures of the house of Yehovah, and the treasures of the kings of his officials, he brought them all to Babylon. And they burned the house of Elohim, tore down the wall of Jerusalem, and burned all of its palaces with fire, and destroyed all its valuable articles. And those who he had escaped from the sword, he took away to exile into Babylon. See, the sword came down on the city and pierced it. The city was pierced for their transgressions. And this goes back to Zechariah as well, about the one pierced whom the nations look upon and mourn. It's about Jerusalem. Then set a siege against it, build a siege wall against it, raise up a ramp against it, set up camps against it, and place battering rams against it all around. Now as for you, get yourself an iron plate, and set it up as an iron wall between you and the city. And see, this is all about what? The siege of Jerusalem. And listen to what he says. Establish your face toward it so that it will be under siege, and besiege it. This is a sign to the house of Israel. Now as for you, lie down on your left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel on it. How clear does this need to be? Well, it gets clearer. You shall bear their iniquity for the number of days that you lie on it. Now I have set a number of days for you corresponding to the years of their iniquity, 390 days. Thus you shall bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And you shall complete these. You shall lie down a second time, but on your right side, and bear their iniquity of the house of Yehuda. And I have set for you 40 days for each year. And this is the example If someone was going to bear the sin, the iniquity of the people, it would be them suffering a day for every year of sin. Not 6 hours, not on a Roman cross. Then you shall establish your face toward the siege of Jerusalem with your arm bared and prophesy against it. Now behold, I will set up ropes upon you, so that you cannot turn from one side to the other until you have completed the days of your siege. Now as for you, take wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt, and set them in one vessel, and make them into bread yourself. And you shall eat it according to the number of days you lie on your side, 390 days. And your food which you shall eat shall be 20 shekels a day by weight, and you shall eat it from time to time. And the water you drink shall be the sixth part of a hin of a measure, and you shall drink it from time to time. You shall eat it as barley cake, having baked it in their sight over human dung. And Yahweh said, Thus all the sons of Israel eat their bread unclean among the nations where I banished them. But I said, O Lord Yahweh, behold, I have never been defiled from my youth until now. I have never eaten what died of itself or was torn by beasts, nor has any offensive meat entered my mouth. And I wish I could say the same thing, but I didn't know. But Ezekiel, a righteous man from his youth, had never had anything defiled, anything unclean touch his mouth. And he's telling Father, no, I will not do this which you're commanding, because it is unclean. And it's interesting, we see the New Testament try to steal this, and the Christians read this and they justify wickedness. Because Peter, he had a dream, right? Peter went up to the rooftop at the 6th hour to pray, but he came hungry, was desiring to eat. And while they were there making preparations, he fell into a trance. And he saw heaven opened up, and an object like a great sheet coming down, lowered by 4 corners to the ground. And there were in all kinds of it 4-footed animals and crawling creatures of the earth, birds of the sky. And a voice came to him, Rise up, Peter, slaughter and eat. Then Peter said, By no means, Lord, for I have never eaten anything defiled and unclean. You see this quite a lot. The New Testament tries to steal and appropriate things that were about the age of Babylon exiling Israel and Jerusalem. Like literally just appropriate it and steal it. Again, a voice came to him a second time. What God has cleansed no longer consider defiled. Okay, that's interesting. As Jehovah answered Ezekiel and said, See, I will set for you cow's dung in place of human dung, over which you will prepare bread. Okay, so he didn't say human bread is now undefiled. No, it was a test. It was a test. And here you have this voice from heaven telling Peter that, it's okay to eat what I've declared now clean. No, sorry. That's a failed test of Deuteronomy 13. Let's go back to Isaiah 53, because now we know this is talking about the city and about the prophet Ezekiel showing us what it meant to bear the iniquity. Then we get to verse 7. For he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth, like a lamb that is led to the slaughter. That's interesting. Didn't we just read that in Jeremiah? Yes, we did. And this is what I was saying, so many people, they don't read the writings. Jeremiah 11:19, remember? Okay, what's going on? I think my internet just went kaput. Right. I don't know what's going on with my internet right now, but I'm not getting any connection here. and I'm not getting a connection to YouTube. Might have to end this and resume there later. Oh boy, this is really bad. I'm not sure what is going on with my internet right now. Let's try searching for this here. Okay, it looks like we're gonna have to reset the router. Awesome. Right, Father, do you want me to take a break right now? I think so. Shalom. I'll figure out what's going on, and Yah willing, we can finish this up.